All right, as everyone's coming in,
It's recording. We're good.
okay, perfect. Hola, yo soy Melanie. I'm Latino World Traveler Community Manager. Today we are in our Expo series. It's the third one of this year, which is so exciting. And today we have Destiny. She's going to focus on Descubriendo tu voz, traveling and creating from who you truly are. So please give a round of applause to Destiny. Woo!
Hi, everybody. Thank you, first of all, to everyone who's here today. I'm beyond excited to really share this space with Latino World Travelers and this new community. And yeah, today's conversation is all about understanding how to travel and how to create from a place that really feels true to who you are. It's not about always growing followers at the fastest rate or chasing every trend that's out there or performing for the God dreaded algorithm. It's really about your story and your perspective and your emotions online and wherever you are in the world. And so by the end of today, my hope is that we all leave with clarity about our voices, permission to show up as yourselves, and simple tools to just help you travel and create authentically. And your story doesn't need to look like anyone else's to matter. So I'm gonna open the presentation and share my screen. Think. Hey, technical difficulties already. No. So yeah, this is a safe space for us to, really talk openly and explore these somewhat sometimes vulnerable topics. So we hear authenticity everywhere, but it's often misunderstood in what authenticity really is. Your authentic voice isn't about performative aesthetics or perfectionism. It isn't about copying everybody else's style. It's really what I think three things: your perspective, your feelings, and your intentions. And that comes from our lived experiences, where we grew up, what shaped you, what excites you, and what challenges you, what motivates you. And our voices aren't just fixed through time. They change, they evolve as we travel, as we grow as people, meet new people, do new experiences, and reflect on everything in life. And authenticity isn't just achieved overnight or in one day, but I really believe it's practiced over time and curated as we go through the motions of life. So there's no one way to be a Latino traveler. I am so many different things, right? I am a bailarina. I be getting down, even when there's no music. I'm an aventurera. I will be in the mountains. I will be on a beach. I will be wherever. And I'm a foodie. I'm a eat. I like to eat. And I like to make content about food and try different cultural dishes. And those are just some things, right? But there's no real one way to show up as a traveler and what Latinidad as a traveler looks like. And I think one of the most beautiful things about this community is that there isn't this singular experience. Some of us travel so we can connect with family roots. Some of us are the first in our families to even leave the country or have a passport or have these opportunities to go places. Some of us travel just because we're all curious, or maybe we're healing, or maybe we're just want to explore. Sometimes it's literally business and we're working. There's so many different avenues. And I really believe that our identities shape how we move through the world, what we notice, and how we feel. And it's through these diverse cultural lenses and languages and upbringing that's all part of your power as a traveler and as a storyteller. And I really believe once we understand our lens and our background is when we start noticing beyond just what we see when we're traveling, but now we get to think, how does this make me feel? And what is the impact of these experiences? So every emotion you feel when you're traveling is valid and is super valuable. A lot of us throughout life are taught that we need to earn our rest, we need to justify our joy, we need to privatize our vulnerability, we have to be grateful but not loud about it. And I really want to reframe that it's these emotions that make your stories way richer. Rest is gonna sharpen your creativity, and presence creates the best content that rather than pressure to perform. And travel and content creation can begin to feel a lot of times like a performance. I've been creating technically since 2022, and there's a lot of times I'm like, what am I doing? How am I, like, does it really feel like me, or am I putting what I think is expected of me as a creator out there? What I think people want to see on my travels. And a lot of times people plan trips just around what looks good on Instagram, what hotel is trending, like things like that. Or we measure our experiences by how productive we can be, how much content can we pump out in a week, and am I supposed to be posting 5 times a week? But I know I can maybe only handle 3, but I'm forcing myself to do 5. Things like that. Trying to be so much more productive than what our experience is really allowing us for. We try to capture moments that perform well instead of moments that move us. When you show up, you think to a destination, oh, let me go to the trending cafe that everybody's talking about, as opposed to maybe the local spot that nobody knows. And those are the conversations in that local spot that really moved me. So things like that are some things to think about, and how the content we're doing is more performative than actually authentic. And the truth is, every emotion you feel when you travel and you create is valid and valuable. Maybe a place makes you laugh. Maybe an interaction makes you cry. Maybe some moments are really reflective, contemplative, or sometimes even uncomfortable. Make you question things about how you're showing up in the world, or your past, or your present, or your future. Maybe places are healing parts of you that you didn't even expect them to touch. All of these emotions are part of your story and are part of how you're showing up in the world. And when you honor them is when your content and your experiences become way more real, way more authentic, and way more relatable to people. So the big question is, why do we travel? Why do we create? And when you have that why, what is it that brings you back to yourself? So before asking, what is my niche, or what should I post? I think the more important question is this: why? Why and what do I feel when I travel or do XYZ? I think about the moments that stay in my memory. I think of the awe when I go to a new landscape. I look at sometimes the heaviness that I feel walking through history. I enjoy the peace of a quiet sunrise, or the really like exhilarating feeling connecting with somebody across the globe, a new friend, a pen pal, someone you meet on a group trip, things like that. And your why exists inside of all of these emotional experiences. It guides the stories that you then choose to tell, and how you interact with these people and these places, and the creative decisions that make your content now super unique and super human. And so some questions to think about of this why are: when and where do I feel most like myself? Fun little story. I was just talking with Melanie right before. I am not Colombian. I'm Puerto Rican Dominican. All right. There, somebody chatting. I'm Puerto Rican Dominican, born and raised in New York, gringa Latina, but I have such a deep affinity for Colombia. And I always say Colombia is my soul place, because it was my first solo, but it wasn't really solo, group trip. And it just opened my eyes. I felt something literally connecting me as a person to this country. And I got to explore different regions and different departments throughout these years. And every time I go back, I was like, oh, I keep going back to Colombia of all places, go somewhere else. I'm like, I'll go somewhere else, but I'm also still going to have Colombia in my year's trip because it is somewhere that I just feel so authentically me that sometimes you can't even really explain what that feeling is. And when I'm making content, even when I'm not even in Colombia, sometimes it's the stories of what I got to experience now that I'm back home. Even like I actually have a post coming up for an example of a lulo batida that I made at home. I found lulo. I haven't been to Colombia since maybe August, but I found lulo. And if you're not familiar with what lulo is, it's also called naranjilla. It's a citrus fruit in Colombia specifically, super popular in Cali. So kind of like an orange, lemon, kiwi mix. That's a lulo. But I found in the supermarket some like frozen lulo, so decided to make a smoothie. And again, it's just those ties to these places that I can find even when I'm not in these places. So fun little caveat story there. But where is it? What is it that you feel the most of when you're traveling? Other questions. What do people always ask about your trips? Beyond just like, oh, what did you do? Like, what are those questions that people are always like, oh, like beyond what did you do? Like, where did you go? What did you love about um this destination? Oh, I saw that photo that you posted. Like, what was that? What are these questions that people constantly ask you about your traveling and sometimes your expertise about traveling? Even if it's like travel planning, like what are these questions that people oftentimes look at you and look at your experience and say, you have valuable information. You have valuable insight. How do I, then you have something to work off of that in terms of making content and telling stories that people are asking to hear. Other questions, what parts of travel or creation feel very healing, very expansive? Sometimes, as I mentioned, the emotions aren't always the most positive. Healing's hard, but sometimes it can hit you when you don't expect it. And places are going to make things feel bigger than you sometimes. And what are the places that feel like that? What are the moments where maybe you're just literally chilling on a beach and you're alone and you feel the sun and you're just grounded, and that's something that just re-invites you into yourself, right? What are those moments that feel like that when you're traveling and you're exploring? And what emotions, coming back to the core question, what emotions come up the most when you're traveling? And then what emotions come up the most when you want to tell that story? Salud. So yeah, we were going to let feeling lead the story. If you feel comfortable, drop a word in the chat that describes an emotion that travel has given you recently. I think I got to stop sharing to get access to the chat. No, it's here. Okay, beautiful. Hope. That's lovely. I'll drop, well, I don't need to drop in the chat because I'm talking. Recently, I went to Costa Rica. That was my last trip, actually. And that trip was an interesting trip, but there was a lot of emotions on the trip, but it was a moment, there were moments where I really just felt calm. Or I really felt super reflective because of what was happening in my life at that moment, that I really had to sometimes just kind of sit back, and I was really reflective on that trip. I got a piece in Guatemala. Nice. So when we're letting these feelings lead the story, I try to live by this motto of sorts of fully, if it didn't feel truly lived, it doesn't need to be shared. What that means to me is if this moment in time didn't feel like something I really lived through and sat into who I am, I don't need to tell a story about it. There's no story behind it. It's fleeting, it passed, but it didn't really leave any sort of impact. That's not going to leave something valuable to share. But if you lived it, you felt it. And those are the stories that are going to be the most valuable. Oh, I got a nice comment. I've been focusing a lot on rematriation and return to our homeland. That's a big one. Yeah, caveat. That was a really good. Actually, I'm going to segue a little bit with that comment. Like, yeah, I've had a really interesting discussion lately with another Latina traveler where this is a theme that's, I think, coming up a lot of in people's experiences of leaving and rematriating and going back to our roots of where we're at, where we come from, where our families come from. And it's an interesting experience because it is guided by so much emotion and guided by so much emotion. I'm going to say emotion. And for me, I remember traveling also was a big thing, being I know sabo que gringa Latina. And when I travel personally around Guatemala. My favorite places. I've been to Europe, I've been to Asia, but I really, really love traveling within Latin America because of this sense of finding yourself and knowing that our people come from these places. Our people come from our bloodlines and our roots and our culture originate in these places. And that's a soul pull that sometimes is really inexplicable. I've felt it being in Puerto Rico. Strangely enough, that's why I love Colombia, even though I'm not Colombian. It was, really allowing these places that have so much inner history to who we are, even if we aren't necessarily born there. We still have that pull to there because they're part of who we are and where our souls come from. And there's a lot of story there. So there's a lot of powerful sense in that feeling. And there's a lot of people, I think, who are really considering that and finding safety in our roots. So fun little thing to think about. Yeah, so here's a shift I want us to make is asking, what did I feel? The most authentic stories don't come from the aesthetics. They don't come from what looks good all the time. It comes from all of these pieces together, the emotions, the feelings, the soul behind, and the humanization of you. And you don't have to document everything. But I encourage us to make room for what matters emotionally. And this will be your guide to authentic storytelling. Beautiful. So the algorithm, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the algorithm. So, how was that? Good question, Melanie. So the algorithm isn't the authority. And talking about authenticity and emotion so much, reclaiming authenticity helps quiet the external noise, build sustainable creativity, preventing that burnout that we often feel as creators. And comparison, I think, is also one of the biggest threats to authenticity. what we see performs online, and we think there's a right way to travel, to go to the right places that everybody's going to. The place, don't avoid the places everybody says, oh, that's not popular. Oh, that's maybe a little dangerous, or like all these places that people, maybe it's really not. And go, I think, where it calls you, not where it's the right way to go. And the same thing for how we're approaching travel. I mean, sorry, approaching our content, the ones here who are creators. We see really like all these popular creators popping off and doing their thing. Power to them. But sometimes we all look at the socials and we're like, this is the same thing again. And it becomes so cookie cutter. I know we've all felt it. We're like, okay, the same unboxing or the same hot girl photo or whatever it is. And it seems like that's the right way to get followership. That's the right way to get these brand partnerships. That's all the things that we're striving for. But then you don't want to lose yourself in that. But even slow growth or quiet content doesn't mean you're showing up wrong. Comparison often steals the emotional authenticity and your experiences from the content that you're putting out there. So we ain't gonna compare, right? You are your own special being. Your content is your content. Put it out there. Even if it's not the right content, it is going to be right for who it's meant for. It's going to be right for the people who want to be in that community that you're building. And gradually over time, it's going to be right because it's the right for you and the people who are going to be in your community. And they don't need you to be for everybody. The right community does not need you to be for everyone. They need you to be clear about who you are, and your story and your perspectives and your experiences are going to shape why you're the right creator and the right stories for that community. And so before we move on to Q&A officially, got some questions already in the chat that I'm excited to answer. I want to leave us with a few reflections. The two biggest ones, or technically three, are what are you carrying forward from this presentation or just in general as you approach content and traveling and you're thinking about your next trip or you're already editing your next post? What is one belief about travel or content creation that you're ready to release into the world? And what is one way that you want to honor your experiences and emotions while you travel or you just live? You know, maybe it's not always about travel, but just as you show up in this world, just living, what are the emotions that you want to feel? And you don't have to share in the chat if you want. If you want to, totally go for it as you're reflecting, but also just let those questions sit in you. And, you know, maybe it's slowing down. Maybe it's just about being more honest with yourself and not feeling like you have to perform to people's standards of what honesty and vulnerability look like. Maybe it's leaning into uncomfortableness in this discomfort. Maybe it's leaning into discomfort and uncomfortable feelings, and because that's where you grow. We don't grow when we're super comfortable. We grow where things are hard. We grow when we can face challenges and do the hard things. And the key that's going to answer these reflections is that your voice has always been with you. Yeah, your voice has always been there to guide you. You just need to trust it more. And when you trust yourself and you live in yourself, you'll find that authenticity. You'll find your story and you'll find that special je ne sais quoi that you all have in this world. And when you're ready for it, with that trust, you can share it. So thank you for, sharing the space with me. And I'd love to open it up for questions, thoughts, reflections. There are no silly questions. There are no wrong questions. Think outside of the box as you want to. And yeah.
Awesome, Desi. I'll hop in. You mentioned what I'll be honoring in my experiences while traveling, or carrying from your presentation. And I think leading with feeling was so special to hear. I'm I double guess myself to the point of not doing anything. So I think just being able to be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Okay, let me do it and just get it out there is very important because if I keep thinking about it, I end up not doing anything. So that's always been my issue. And that kind of inspired me to like, okay, maybe just see how it goes and figure it out along the way. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I've also found myself a lot of times in that similar mindset. I'm a huge overthinker. um, because I try to be so emotionally aware and I try to be so like sometimes it's like I overthink it. And yeah, for me, it's just allowing yourself to feel the experience, feel the feelings. Like I also am an intellectualizer, so like I like to intellectualize the feelings and make them make sense before just feeling what they are. And when it comes to the content and the stories that I'm facing as I live, it's like just feel it and just let it flow, right? And just let it, you don't have to always figure out what that feeling is yet, but know that you're feeling it. And then you can come out after, right? Sitting on that beach, right? Bring that example back, but like sitting on that beach, you're just feeling it. And then you go home after and you're like, wow, that was a moment for me to breathe. That was a moment for me to release. That was a moment for me to heal or be happy or be sad or whatever, right? You can figure out the feeling later, but allowing there, if you mentioned letting it just flow and guide you, um, is a really good thing. So I'm glad. Um, so some questions. How do you balance achieving both visibility, aka the algorithm, and value, authenticity in content? Do you aim for one over the other? For me, I definitely aim for value over the visibility because I think when people, and starting with you, but when people can gain value from your content, then it'll become visible, right? As opposed to chasing again what we think will be popular, what we think people are going to respond to, and then trying to kind of force it to fit in that mold. I'm like, what is it? What is it that I want to share? Where did I go? Right? Where did I want to just be like side quest? And it's just because I wanted to go. And maybe nobody, like sometimes maybe nobody will care, but I care. And so I'm going to make this real about it. And if it performs, great, beautiful. And if it doesn't, and this also goes into a similar following question, and if it doesn't, okay. But I still have that content out there and maybe in a few weeks it'll circle back, right? But I know at the end of the day, I feel good and I don't feel like I wasted my time telling the story that I wanted to tell because I saw that it was valuable. I felt good sharing this experience. Um, and like I mentioned a little earlier in the presentation too, it's like as you're building community, it's not everything is for everyone, right? Little caveat, outside of traveling, I've been going through like a really tough breakup. And so my content on my page has been a lot of my healing journey through this breakup. And so many people were like, girl, shut up. Talking about this breakup, stop talking because about healing and exposing your vulnerable side and emotional side in that way. Um, and I was like, no, this is a story that I want to tell. Like, and I didn't fresh out the breakup, start making content and commercializing my breakup. for the content. It was like, no, I have a lot of feelings, and this is a way my content is something that I do that makes me feel good. So I want to share what I'm going through. And, there were people who were like, oh, you're being dramatic, or again, make this should be more private. And I was like, but also there are a lot of people who were like, thank you. I can't be as vocal as you're allowing yourself to be, but I'm going through the same thing right now. And I was like, that's who it's for. Even if 5 people are telling me, girl, shut up, there are 3 people who are crying alongside me, being like, I got you, love a girl, and it's the same thing for any sort of content you make, whether it's beauty content, travel content, wherever it is, there's going to be somebody who's going to value the content because it's meant for them. And that's the community that you want to build. And eventually the visibility will come along with that. So I always lean in for value first. And yeah, that's what helps me stay motivated, right? Finding my people, finding my tribe, being like, again, 5 people are like, girl, you're a cliche, or shut up. Nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody cares. And then I got 3 people who are like, actually, that was fire. Actually, you're so inspirational. Actually, I really liked that place. Now I'm going to go check it out. And those 3 people are then going to find, they know 3 other people who are going to be like, oh, I'm really down with this creator. Or this Asian or whatever. And that's how then that builds. And so that's the slow growth. And it's like, it's a little painful because you're like, shit, I'm putting in all this time. And I'm like, girl, I made 3 reels today. That takes time. And I haven't gotten like anything. But the blessings a lot of time happen in disguise. And you have to have faith that when you feel good about what you're putting out there, it's going to come its way eventually. And the community might seem small at first. The growth might seem slow at first. The numbers and the metrics are not performing, but you got to have faith in what you do. And that comes from authentically enjoying it. Authentically being like, this is not supposed to it's not about the performance, having that self validation in what you're doing, and allowing yourself to motivate, because you're like, I kind of ate that reel up, even if the metrics don't think so, but I kind of ate that reel up. I like that voiceover. It's actually better than the voiceover I did yesterday or 2 weeks from now. So now you're growing as a creator. You're trying new things. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you're growing. You know that. And then you're going to have people over time who also support that. So fuck the numbers, essentially. I also swear a lot. I'm sorry, but we all grown. So yeah, fuck the numbers.
We're gonna add a little bleep beep.
Yeah, right. This is pre-recorded. They're gonna be beep, beep.
Definitely. How have you, with leading with authenticity, how have you seen success in your content, whether that's metrics or in your personal life or just sentimental? If you would share that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I would say 2 ways, right? I think success can be self-driven. Sometimes I get just looking at that reel, like, I ate that up. I love the way I did that voiceover. I tried something new, and I maybe I got a creative shot that I was like, this is gonna be a risk. I haven't done this before, and it looked really good. Because you try something new, right? I think, like I mentioned, sometimes growth is hard and things are uncomfortable, and it's really easy to lean into fear of, I'm not doing this right, or it's not good enough, or you're like, no, just be excited about it. Be your own best friend, be your own cheerleader sometimes. And that's what motivates me and makes me feel successful, of like, I really just like what I put out there. And it reminded me too that I'm like, may not seem like it when people are getting like tens and thousands of likes, but also 100 people is a lot of people. If you think about it, that's like a solid auditorium of random people. Like, they may seem small in comparison, but comparison is the devil, right? You would never, if you're constantly comparing yourself thinking the grass is going to be greener on that side, you can't even appreciate the green grass in front of you. So really doing the work to not compare my successes, even if they're smaller, to other successes that are out there. And knowing that those are going to come the more consistent as I show up for myself. So that's one way that I like look at things and define and feel satisfied in my success. And then the other ones are just like the little bigger moments that I feel like this was a blessing I was waiting for has happened. As a creator, I've gotten really small, like UGC campaigns, or I've gotten like some gifted collabs, and I got to do my biggest win was last year. I worked with a travel agency to make content in Cartagena. And I did that because I had someone who really believed in me, put me on networking. I had somebody. It goes back to that building authentic community. I was a smaller creator at the time, smaller than I am now. And I had someone just plug me in because they were like, you deserve the chance. And I know you have skills. I know you can really do a good job. She plugged me in. I got the job, created those reels, and got to be in the best place to do it. And I was like, like, if you really think about it, I could have gotten paid way more than what I did. But I was like, I'm going to start small, but celebrate this success, because this was a long time coming. And I haven't done anything that big since. But even that moment being a year ago, I'm like, that's something that's I'm gonna celebrate that win and allow it to even motivate the ones that I know are gonna keep coming later on. So just constantly being in a place of celebration and honoring yourself, and then reminding yourself of like, you're doing it. You're doing it. No matter how small it may seem in the time, you're doing it. And small wins are still wins. Small successes are still successes. Yeah. Is IG my main platform? Yeah. I love Instagram. I love Instagram. It is my main platform. I do have TikTok personally. I do have LinkedIn, but I'm not a LinkedIn creator. I'm like, I need a job on LinkedIn. But yeah, IG is my main platform personally. I just love IG. It's fun. I have tried. I've been considering blogging though. So if anybody got like blogger experience and want to put your girl on, I got stories. But blogging is a really actually like very popular place for creators and like travelers. Really big monetization opportunities. Of course, like anywhere, you got to work for it. But blogging is really good. So explore it if you're a blogger out there.
Awesome. Destiny, so you love Instagram. I know a lot of people are very intimidated by
Mm-hmm.
Instagram because there's such like a pressure to be perfect and have the perfect Lightroom presets and like editing and all that. So how do you get past that? How do you get past that perfection part of Instagram?
Yeah. Funny enough, well, when I think of TikTok versus Instagram, right, I think of like what's my purpose on each one. And I think of TikTok, I just post anything on TikTok. I mean, like, I don't really care about TikTok. Where I think TikTok, I get to be, and it's really thinking about metrics and stuff. It's what I expect to perform on TikTok actually ends up performing on Instagram, and then vice versa. I don't understand it to this day. But I think I personally like Instagram because, and I've actually heard the opposite argument, but hey, I personally like Instagram because I feel like I get to create my community more on Instagram than I do on any other platform. Um, and that is what lets me fight against like the perfectionism, always feeling like I got a community that enjoys what I'm putting out there. Um, and I just try to show up as me. And I know that me isn't perfect. I know that me like doesn't doesn't always feel the cutest or doesn't always have, like you said, the right, like the best Lightroom preset or and I just take it as a place to learn and grow. I'm like, I'm not perfect. But if I see somebody's content who I'm like, you got something going on there that I like, rather than trying to compare myself to it, I'm like, okay, what is it that I like about that that I can take and spin it to fit me, right? Using each other, using other creators out there, the most popular ones, even the more like low scale micro creators, and be like, okay, ooh, okay, I do like that preset. I think I have a photo that would look great on it. How do I do that? Instead of being like, oh, my editing skills are not at that level. Damn, I maybe shouldn't put that reel out yet. You're like, okay, wait, what? DM show. How'd you do that? What's the tutorial? So you can just grow yourself, and knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect yet. It doesn't have to be, um, yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you are the master of your own story. And because I feel like Instagram allows me to have that community, then I have that support in there to be like, this is a platform that I think allows me to actually be me.
That's very refreshing to hear about Insta. Does anyone have any last minute questions before we wrap up? Destiny, where can we find you on Insta and TikTok? What is your handle?
So I'll put it in the chat. So my Instagram handle is Mi Vida Travel, very on brand.
Yeah.
And then my TikTok is I am Desi Rosa, Tnig. This is backwards. So I'll follow back. And everybody's like, wait, don't follow me back. I follow everybody back. Because we all in a tribe, we all in together. And I know, also leave it this note. It's like this is a scary world sometimes. Like content creation and traveling and going out there by yourself or even with a friend or family can be scary. Like you have to just really understand, you have to allow yourself to be brave, right? Which is why I'm like, post the photo, put the video out there, right? Allow yourself to do the scary things because that could be a scary world. And protect yourself too. Like, protect yourself with a safe community. No, protect yourself with friends who are gonna hype you up when you post that photo or support you and be like, okay, here, other maybe more experienced mentors or creators. Here's a pitch that's worked for me. Let me know when you send the email and you guys can work together. Having that safety net allows you to do the brave things of just showing up sometimes in a way that feels easier, and it then will start to become practicing doing the scary things, taking the trip, go solo. And if solos are still a little too much, go solo local. um or just even or quiet the voices. People are like, oh, that place, that's time to talk about Colombia a lot. But a lot of times people are like, Colombia is dangerous or has such a bad history or you shouldn't go there. Just go. Just go. If you do your research and if you feel pulled to somewhere, again, be your best advocate always, but go and do the things that allow you to feel brave and allow you to feel human and allow you to feel everything you feel. Exactly. Formulate your own opinions and experiences, and you'll find that that's where your authenticity comes in, and people will follow.
Thank you so much, Destiny. Everyone, got your round of applause. I'm gonna share my screen for some ending
Yeah.
remarks.
We'll swap.
All right. Again, thank you, Destiny. a million. Thank you for all the wise advice you gave us today. It was awesome to hear such a candid conversation about being authentic and true to ourselves. So thank you for that. Just so you know, we're continuing the next few months with a lot of things going on. So join us at La Casita. It's on Mighty Networks. We have a digital platform where we're all able to communicate. We're engaging in different conversations and forums. And then you also have a lot of access to these expert sessions. And now we're doing in-person events. So you've seen us at coffee shops in New York, and we're going to do a lot more partnerships with people. We have a San Francisco partnership coming up in March. I can't remember the day, so please go to our platform and see when that is. If you're in the area, feel free to come out. There's a couple of tickets still available. And this month, or sorry, next month, we're launching neighborhood explorations in the New York area, so New York, New Jersey area. So stay involved, connect with us on our socials. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all over at Latino World Travelers. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're here for you, and these conversations will only continue to happen to make us all better creators and travelers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. It's good to see everyone.